Hello and welcome to this session in which we will dive a little bit deeper into the audit process within the judicial sources. Now keep in mind that this session is part of the series looking at the three sources of the US tax law: legislative, administrative, and judicial. But within the judicial here, we will look at detailed in the audit process. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, farhatlectures.com. You are here because you are serious about mastering taxation. Whether you are taking a tax course, studying for the CPA exam, or enrolled agent, tax feels overwhelming, not because it's impossible, but because it's dense, detailed, and often taught at a pace that doesn't match the way you learn. The rules can feel disconnected, and the logic isn't always explained clearly. At Farhat Lectures, we slow it down. We explain the why behind the rules, break concept into simple steps, and rebuild your understanding from the ground up without assuming any prior knowledge. When explanation matches your learning, everything changes. The confusion fades, the rules start to connect, and tax becomes manageable. If you are ready to understand tax with clarity and confidence, start your free trial at farhatlectures.com and let's build your tax foundation together. Let's start by revisiting the field and office audit that we discussed earlier. Now, the IRS and the taxpayer will have to coordinate the time where that office or field takes place, the date, and location. Now, keep in mind the IRS will work with you, but at the end of the day, they can make the final determination if the agreement is not reached, and the location depending on the nature of the issue involved. In some cases, the examination may take place at the IRS office. In other situation, when the business record or the physical asset are relevant for the audit, the examiner might conduct the audit at your place of business. So it could be at the office, at the IRS office, or your place of business, or a third appropriate place at your law firm, attorney, or CPA. So the IRS may inspect the business premise if that's part of the investigation relevant fact. Now, how about recording an audit? If any party wants to record the proceeding, they will have to give a written notice. Now, also you have to understand, if you're the taxpayer and you become uncomfortable at any point during an examination and you want to seek assistance from a qualified representative, and we're going to talk about who that representative could be, what's considered a qualified representative, the examiner, they have to stop the audit and allow time for the representation to be obtained. This is important. It gets tested. And this rule reinforces the taxpayer right to representation while ensuring the audit process remain fair and orderly. So you have the right for representation. You can tell them, look, I'm no longer, I don't wish to answer any questions. I need representation. Basically, I need help. Okay, so they can, they have to give you that time. Now, there's something called the Revenue Agent Report, RAR. So at the conclusion of an examination, the examiner, the revenue agent, prepared this report. It's commonly referred to as RAR. And this document summarizes the examiner finding and clearly outline any proposed changes, any proposed adjustment to the taxpayer return. What could be the changes? No changes. You have to pay more, or there's a refund due. So you may show additional tax due or refund. Oh, we didn't find anything. Everything looks good. No need for an adjustment. And the taxpayer may agree or disagree. Obviously, if it's a refund, they will 100% agree, right? A penalty declined, right? If they believe there's a tax due and it's unfair, they have the right to disagree. So an agreement allow immediate closing of the examination. And in Breaking Bad, what happened? There was an immediate closing of the examination, and that was that. Watch the movie. So this agreement allowed the taxpayer to pursue appeals right. But the RAR report represent the formal transition point between the examination phase and the resolution. So once that RAR report is done, basically you have to make a decision whether you want to agree, and if you agree, you're basically done at that point. Now, the question is, how about during IRS examination when they're auditing you? Can they contact third party? And the answer is yes. The auditor
The IRS may contact third party to obtain information that's relevant to the return. This is an audit. The third party can include financial institution like your bank, your employers if you are an individual being audited. If you're a company, they can contact the employees or other individual who may have information needed to verify a reported item. This is an audit. This is an examination. So as a general rule, the IRS first try to obtain the necessary information directly from you. That's the best thing to do. But formal requests are typically made before any outside contact occur. They will tell you because they don't want you to upset those third party. But third party is usually the last step when the taxpayer is unable or unwilling. They don't want to, or they are giving hard time providing the information. Therefore, you have to go to a third party. So the current law requires the IRS to give advance notice to the taxpayer before contacting those third party. And this notice must identify the period which such contact may occur and must provide specified time limits. Now, keep in mind, if this is a criminal investigation, law enforcement investigation, they don't have to let you know. They don't have to let you know that they're contacting those third parties for obvious reasons. You don't want to warn them in criminal cases that they're being investigated or how give them tips. But in the absence of a criminal intent, advance notice is required and they can contact third party. Audit determination and final resolution. The audit may close with no changes, agreement, or disagreement, as we mentioned earlier. If no change, it means there's no adjustment, basically all good. An agreed upon result and accepting changes, we can agree or we can disagree. The closing agreement may conclusively settle the tax liability. We're just gonna, you know what, we're done once the audit is closed. We're not going to open this again. And reopening an audit case is rare and limited. So once that audit is done, it's basically done. Now, what happens if you get audited and you're not happy with that audit, not happy with the result? You can ask for audit reconsideration. Maybe you want to submit new information that was not evaluated during the original examination. And the IRS doesn't have to accept. They will not consider an audit because simply the taxpayer disagree with the outcome. The request, you have to request the audit re-examination or reconsideration. Assuming you have a valid reason, you are including new documentation. Look at this new documentation. Okay, so this allows the taxpayer to request a previous audit. They're not happy with the results. They believe if the auditor looks at this additional information, it might change the outlook. That's fine. But again, you have to convince the IRS. Applies when additional tax was assessed or credit were denied. Of course, why would you ask for audit reconsideration? If you have a refund and it's to your favor, you just go and you go with it, right? You run to the bank. Again, require new information not previously considered. You cannot just keep asking them to reconsider the audit. You have to provide new information. And available only if the liability remain unpaid. If the taxpayer agreed to the assessment or if the court has already issued a final ruling, audit reconsideration is not available in this situation. So the IRS generally will not accept. Not available if a court has issued a final decision because you had the time to present what you needed to present, especially if you have an attorney. So this process provides a limited but a valuable opportunity for correction while preserving the final decision of a complete audit. So remember, at the end of the day, IRS acceptance is discretionary. If you want another audit, present the information as long as we didn't go through the court system yet. Now, how about repeat examination? Now, repeat examination by the IRS. What does that mean? It means the IRS, they keep coming back to you and auditing the same issue. Now, as a general policy, the IRS seek to avoid this repeated examination for various reasons. Why would they waste time if they already did it when the taxpayer was already audited for that particular area? So the IRS avoid repeated audit of the same issue. So, and the taxpayer may request a discontinuation of a repeat examination. You could just tell them, look, we looked at this before and I want to formally just ask for discontinuation. Now, the ability to stop is not automatic because the IRS retain discretion to approve or deny the request. Again, prior audit with no changes support discontinued request. That could be a reason. Now, if the current audit involved new issues, different legal question, or a different reason for selection, the IRS is not going to listen to you and say, no, this is totally different than the prior audit. And this rule reflects a balance between protecting the taxpayer from unnecessary duplication and allowing the IRS to examine return when new concerns arrive. Again, approval is at the IRS discretion, especially if there's a new issue or a different reason. Allow a new examination. So you cannot say this is the same thing. But if it's about the same issue, let's assume it's about your charitable contribution and you already went through it. Or if it's about your medical deduction, if you're an individual, you just tell them, look, it's the same year, the same case. There is no need. Please, let's discontinue this. Now, we talked about representation, and for enrolled agent, we have to know a lot about representation. We'll have a whole session about this. But who may represent a taxpayer before the IRS? First, you can represent yourself. I would not recommend it, but you can always represent yourself. I don't recommend anything in these lessons. Those are for educational purposes anyway. Or the taxpayer may authorize a qualified representative to act on their behalf. So the representative, they must meet the IRS qualification standard. And one of them is, filling out Form 2848, which is power of attorney, given that qualified individual power of attorney. And representation could apply during an examination, audit, or other IRS proceeding. Now, who can? The type of the qualified representation and the scope. Enrolled practitioners, EA, certain licensed professionals, CPAs, attorneys. Some non-licensed individual, like family member, could represent in limited situation. And we'll talk about that later on when we talk about the POA forms. And the qualification will depend on the relationship to the taxpayer. And in that form, you have to, spell out the rights apply and the scope for that person that's representing you. So authorization determines who may communicate with the IRS as well, whether you allow them to communicate or not, and would allow them to sign on your behalf or not. We'll look at this form later on. Just keep in mind that whoever represents you, especially if it's an enrolled agent or a CPA or an attorney, they must act in your favor. Honestly and in good faith. Obviously, they must act with integrity. They cannot deceive the government or deceive you or submit false document on your behalf or make any unsupported argument. That's not in your best interest. If the representative has document or information relevant to the examination, they are required to provide it. They must provide this information to the IRS. Now, at the same time, representatives have limits. They cannot do anything. They cannot mislead the IRS. For example, they cannot obstruct the examination process. And if the representative fail to cooperate, guess what? They'll come after you. Failure to cooperate may allow the IRS to bypass. Now, you have this individual. That individual is not cooperating. They want to communicate with you directly. So the IRS cannot force the taxpayer to attend interview if represented. So if you have a representation that meets the legal IRS requirement, then you don't have to be present. Again, this is to balance the taxpayer's right while preserving the IRS ability to administer and enforce tax law effectively, basically collect revenue for Uncle Sam. Let's take a look at this multiple choice question from farhatlectures.com. During an IRS examination, basically an audit, a taxpayer becomes uncomfortable answering questions and requests time to obtain a qualified representative. What is the examiner required to do? So what's the IRS is required to do? Now, if you're not sure about this, this examination, you can ask AI to explain this topic before you answer the question, but I hope you read the notes, viewed the lecture before answering this question. So let's take a look at the answer choices here. The examiner will continue the examination until the taxpayer provide Form 2848, which is a power of attorney. No, you just have to stop. You cannot continue. You have to give the taxpayer time to obtain this 2848, find the appropriate representation. So A is out, it's too harsh, right? B, terminate the audit permanently. That's kind of easy elimination. Just because they ask for representation, you don't terminate, you don't say case is closed, and everyone will take that option, right? That's an easy elimination. C, suspend the examination and allow time for representation. That sounds like a reasonable solution. You'd say, okay, we'll stop for now. I'll give you some time to get a representation, the proper representation. Between A, B, and C, I'm going to keep C, but I have to look at D. Proceed only with written questions. No, you just have to suspend, including any written questions. D is out. Now, you could also ask the AI to explain the correct and incorrect answer. It will elaborate differently, a little bit more in depth if you would like to. And if you would like to test yourself more about this topic, you could ask the AI to create a similar MCQ for you. What should you do now? As a student, enrolled agent, CPA exam candidate, go to Farhat Lectures. Look at additional resources like podcast lessons, additional lectures, the AI assistant, notes, multiple choice, video MCQs, video simulations. Invest in yourself. That's the best investment you can make. Good luck, study hard, and God bless.